Hey, it's Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it's Tuesday. It is June 28th. This will be our chart listen for the day, and you can see what we had was a spike in the channel here. We actually ended up having a break here and a new high, and then we had a correction. We never could make a new low, and then we started higher again. Early on, I wasn't sure if we had a two-tiered channel here, but I don't believe that we end up having that. It's still, you could say we had one. Um, it just wasn't real obvious. We still got a break here regardless. It did trigger a trade here that would have been a good one to take, but in the end, it doesn't matter if you played it like this or in the end, I really think this was your channel here, right here, and there's no midline after all. That's what I think we're looking at. I left that on there to show you what I was looking at earlier. I just wasn't sure if it's two-tiered or not. But this is what I believe we had. We got a break here, and actually we had a break here. Well, we continued to go higher till we got to the other side. Then it reversed and worked down. So it didn't matter how you saw it. You still got the break right here, and you still got to move to a new high again. So, but I believe that this is more accurate here. And let me back out a little more. But this was obvious what we were looking at by the time I came in. And but we had three little repeat patterns. It's really two repeat patterns because this kind of was the pattern that set it, and then you had two more just almost just about like it. Um, and then we reversed up here. This is where it was really hard to tell what was going on. Um, this was the first break of this little channel working down. In the end, I think we once you had a little more down action here, you could find this one up here as well. So this was a little difficult right through here. Um, and we really weren't sure about what was going. It was really hard to know for sure what was going on. You had a trend. You had this trend working up, a break, a move to a new high, but you didn't get a trap until here in a reversal pattern. So that was the really first trade. Then you knew we were working lower again, and then it kind of reversed again. So it got a little iffy, but between probably this last trade and right in here, I just don't really see a way to get long here. You got a little correction working here, but you never really, you did have an overshoot, so you know that one could probably be green. I'll go ahead and put that on there. I meant to kind of have that one on there earlier. So there's an overshoot, but it's just a little iffy. So it's not real clear. And generally, your best trade, if you aren't 100% sure of what you're reading and what you're looking at, the best trade is probably no trade. So let me back out a little more where it's easier to see, and we'll go through the trades. But you can see the spike up, and we went into this channel. And so this is what I was looking at early on. I just wasn't sure if maybe the lows were here. And it still works right there. So you still could probably go with that. But you can see we're not quite touching right here. So I really do believe this was like this right here. And you can see it catching those right there perfectly. So I believe this to be it. And we just had an overshoot here. A lot of times when you get or a break in the overnight, sometimes you just have to kind of ignore that because you'll get exaggerated moves before the volume starts to pick up a little bit. And that's another thing. The volatility slowed down a lot today, although the volume is still very heavy. You can see the volume, but the volatility is not quite so bad. It did get a little volatile in the afternoon, a little iffy. But other than that, I mean, this morning stuff, there's several really good trades here, and this is fairly normal price action with the fact that there's probably a lot more volume than normal there. So just something to think about. But the first trade I saw is working up this channel you actually could have entered here, but this was before 7 o'clock. Let me see what time this was. I don't know what happened to my, there it is, time, 6:34. So that bar closed at 6:34. So really, you didn't, by the time 7 o'clock, this was the first trade. And notice that It's kind of back on this trend line. You could have had it off these first two, pulled it down, and you see that it fits. I actually had it a little tighter than that early on. I had it more like that right there. And you can see that's fitting up through there. Um, but I adjusted it a little later on, and it may still fit right there with no problem. You can still see that that works. So even there is okay. And that even still works here. It's just swinging both sides of that. That would have really made you question, hey, what should I do right here? But anyway, this was a nice trade, quick and easy, and you could have ridden it all the way to the top, exit right before it touches that high side, and you exit within a tick or so of the top. Then it turns down. Oops. You can see that trend line working down. It's kind of questionable if you get a close outside there. You definitely get one here no matter what, and then it drops to a new low and reverses. So I like going long there. It's a second entry as well. Look at the new high. Pull back first entry, pull back second entry. And that is also kind of a breakout pullback double test of this little trading range right here. So you can see that it touches it and it rallies. There is a pullback here, but your signal bar is not very good. I don't think you want to enter there. And then we're just kind of going sideways. It's tempting to enter here because you could almost count that as a double test, but it doesn't quite get there. So that's really the first test. Not a good signal bar. This signal bar is too close to the high. But then you get your for sure double test of this level right here. And look at that bar right there. Your stop has to go under here, under this. That's your low of the swing. But look how bullish that is. Now it is right into these highs right across there. But this is the bigger pattern working up through here. I don't know why that's kind of out of whack there. It doesn't really matter. But what I like doing is letting it break above here and dropping your limit order back here, and you would have got filled on it, and then it would have taken on off. But you could just use a stop there. It's maybe more than 8 ticks right by doing it that way, so you might have had to use a limit order. But that's right off this key entry point. And like I said, this was in the overnight, so sometimes you can just ignore that. Plus, this is like a little repeat pattern of this. It didn't drop as far out, but it still drops out. And notice your trend line working up. You don't really ever get another chance to enter. This is your first break outside this one. We aren't back to the high, but it's really close to that high. And then you get a trap right here, but that's a very bearish bar, and you're kind of going sideways. And you've got a double top here now, and not much room. So I would just kind of wait, and then you get that repeat pattern. Notice how it drops out of the bottom, just like it did here and basically here. And it went out the bottom first and turn goes out. I just go long right there because you're still looking for prices to come up here. They couldn't push it through, so they trap people to the other side, and then they let that trap push it through. It pulls back right here. This gives you a failed second entry short. It's the reason I like it. Notice the new low, pull back first entry, pull back second entry, and you still got room to get out before you get up here, and that's a trap, so I like that one. And off it goes. And if you exit right before here, you get out within a few ticks of the top. And that's the first break outside that trend line, so you don't want to be going short yet. But I don't think this has been a strong trend up, a spiking channel. We are coming off the top. We have made a double top. So a lot of times these are good trades. I think it's too strong and too big a rally to take it. But, you probably could argue for it to be green. But most of the time when people start counter trend trading, they just lose money. So I'm hesitant to. But if you understand what's going on here, there's plenty of reasons to take that back, hoping it at least comes back to the trend line, but we're probably coming down here. There's a shorter term trend line in there too that I don't have on there. There's really 3 different trends working down here. There's this one, and then there's this shorter term one here. And then there's the bigger one that's more like that. This is your main one right here. This one, this line, this line. This is your main trend line. So, but you're working down. There's a second entry short right there, but it's right back into that trend line, and that's the first close outside in the regular trading. So I'd be a little leery of it. I wouldn't go long there either because you don't have the new low in place. So for this one, and it really just makes a double test. I mean, you could go short here because let me put the line on here. But there is a little trading range right here, and that's a double test of that. That's a big bearish bar. It's pretty close to that low, and the trend has been up, the bigger trend. So it's a little bit aggressive, but there's enough reason to go short right there. You don't want to go long here, even though it looks like a trap, because it's just going sideways, and we've had a break here, and we're just kind of going sideways. It's real tempting to go long right there. I'm not sure if that trade would have worked or not. Your entry would have been 15.25. You can see it wouldn't have. You would have got trapped there. But I wouldn't go long because of this trend line right here, and the fact that that's the first break outside, so you're still looking for prices to go lower. I'd be more apt to go short there, even short there. You really could enter short there, but I wouldn't do it. But when it tested it again, if you want to be aggressive, I'd take that short. But now you got your close outside of this one. You got a new low. And you're still thinking that you're probably going to get a retest of the high. So I like this one to the long side. I was actually kind of surprised it turned down here. Again, I don't think I'd go short here because I wasn't sure about this bigger channel yet. You really didn't have everything in place to find it yet. So you're more apt to go long, but it never breaks long and it just turns down again. So I don't think this set the trend line, these first two. And this really confirmed it, but you get a close outside at the same time. I really found it off these lows. You can see that right there, and I just copied it and drug it up, and that it fit when it actually it was when it was coming back to here that it confirmed it. So, but if you draw that right there and you pick it up, it picks up right there, and then it looks like it's going to turn down here. So, and notice you got your correction coming up. That's the first close outside. You move to a new high. Could have gone short there, but that signal bar is no good. But when you got another one, what I would have done is when it broke below this one, you really could put a stop there, but that's not a great signal bar either. But when it broke below, I'd drop a limit order in back where your stop would have been right there if that was a nice signal bar, and see if you could get filled. I'm not sure if you would have or not. I can't remember. Comes back, look how it pushes right through the EMA, pulls back, tests it. But you don't, there's too many sideways. So I don't like going short there, even though you're expecting it to try for a new low. I don't think it's worth it. Then you're bouncing here. We're actually going sideways. There's a failed breakout right here. This is really your signal bar, but it's too bullish. But when we got this one, I like going short right there. It's right off that trend line again. Big bear, opened on its very high, closed on its very low. I like going short there. If you tried to use a limit order here back after it broke below there, you would have missed this trade. And of course, if you exit a tick or so above that lower line, then you get out perfect. And then you're correcting. You can see this right here. I don't think that's a convincing close. So I think you got to consider this a trend all the way up, but I just don't see a good place to enter. It's not a good entry here. This is really still inside the channel. It pushes out, it pulls back, but look at the 3 dojis in a row. And I think if you'd have gone long there, you'd probably got trapped. It looks like it's going to give you a chance to, you got to close outside, but you don't have a new high. It actually turns back up right there, but you're still just going sideways, and everything's still above the EMA. So I just don't see any good entry there. It does overshoot the low side here. And that's a nice, opens on its low, closes on its high. You are looking for a retest of the high here, so I like that one um, because of the overshoot and the bullish bar and the fact that you're looking for a new high. Again, you don't have a break of a close outside this one and a new low though, so it's a little risky. It's why it's green. I mean, like I said, from this last trade to right here, this thing is just really iffy, and I think you're better off just to kind of sit and wait and see what happens. It does run up. Now you got your close outside break. You get an overshoot of this one. So even though you don't have a breakout side here to new low, you get the overshoot, which is a lot of times all you get. And that big bullish bar. So you can go short here simply because I don't know why that won't line up over that bar. But anyway, you get your break. You get a move to a new high that's very bearish, a little ways away from the EMA. It's aggressive, but if you want to go short there, you can. You get a lower high here, which leads you to think you're probably going to get at least another leg down. So I like that one. That sets your trend line, and when this one comes back, that confirms it. You can treat that like a failed second entry long. Even though it went back right there, uh, there's too many dojis and too many bars stacked up. You don't want to go short there. It would have worked, but you're better off to wait on this one. This is when you know what's going on. Now you got a pattern. It looks like a reversal pattern. It shoots through the EMA, pulls back, gives you a failed second entry long, because this is really one move. This is two legs in one move. That's the way I would read that. And it actually ticks back here, but you don't want to go short right into that. Comes back and tests it again, but again, I don't think you want to go short in any of those. But now you got another little trend working up here. You get a close outside, a move to a new high, and that is right at the trend line. Even though that looks like a doji, that bar is pretty bearish, but you do have 4 bars stacked up there and a doji. So this one is close, very close to being the green one, but that fits our criteria for what we get a close outside, a move to a new high. It's right off the key entry point, right off the trend line. But you can see people weren't real sure. It pulled back. Broke out. That's a little failed breakout, just like you usually expect. It pulls back, makes a double top, and then turns down. That's your better trade, but you can take that one if you want. It fits our criteria. And then we come down here and we test this again. We test it again, but I don't think you can go long in there. We do have an overshoot here, but you know, who's to say that maybe the trend line's not down here and we just couldn't get down there yet? It's hard to say. It really, to me, looks like it's up here, and we just had an overshoot here. But that's another reason why this is really iffy in here. But there's no doubt we're working lower until right here when we can't go any lower than that. And we find support there multiple times. But I don't like going long there either. And you don't get another chance, another pullback till here. But notice that new low. You're pulling back, you get a first entry short, you're heading up. This is definitely a reversal type pattern, and that's your next pullback, and it pulls right back to the trend line off those first 2 swings there. Really, it's the way you know that one's valid is by drawing it off these highs and then pulling it down, and you can see that fits real well. And when it bounces there, I like that one. But you don't get really another chance. That one takes you all the way into the 2 o'clock hour. So your best trades were all earlier in the morning. I mean, this was all pretty straightforward up through here. And then these were pretty straightforward. And it's really from this low to this short where it's just not real obvious what's going on. We're obviously rallying some, but you know, it's really hard to pinpoint that what's going on, because this really turned down. And so these are just really iffy. You got to be really paying attention to what's going on. And then these 3 were pretty obvious. And even this one, because it's so close to that high, but you can see that is a nice move up. You're probably going to get another push, another equal leg. If you draw your first leg, you can see you got a perfect measured move there. I actually want to ticker so higher. Then you get your break, move to a new high, comes down. You got a trend line working. Now this is after hours, but just to show you the price action continues to work. You get your close. It tries to make a new low, and it makes a higher low and bounces. So there's probably actually some kind of other pattern in here. Yeah, you can see that right there if you drew it off those first couple using the closes right there, and it pretty much matches up with these. You can see it catches them on up here later in the day too. So there's generally something there. If you search around, you'll find it, but we don't pay anything. We don't really take any trades after 2 o'clock. There's another little trap right there. That would have been a good one to go higher. So yeah, volatility has dropped off some, although the volume is still pretty high. This is more of a normal day. I figured we'd have a bounce in here somewhere because we'd really sold off hard, and generally that's as soon as people start to perceive it as a great buy, the buyers start coming in. So we went from 1980. So we got about a 50-point rally today, 45 to 50 point in there somewhere. So we'll see what happens tomorrow. Maybe the rally will continue. We'll have another big up day. We'll have to see. So, but I'm going to wrap it up for today. We'll be back again to do it tomorrow. This is Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.